perhaps you're gay. Is there a point to all these fancy clothes? With all these buckles from your head down to your toes? It's very simple, but I'm just another girl. It's not so easy, but I'm giving it a whirl. Is there something that you're trying to prove? With all the makeup and the way you move, are you looking for some sympathy? No, I'm trying to be the best girl I can be. It's very simple, but I'm just another girl. It's not so easy, but I'm giving it a whirl. Like my martini stride, cosmos I won't deny. Smoke those long cigarettes. Thank God I'm not dead yet. Done all these crazy things, short of a wedding ring. Just a
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Callista Solon, and you're watching nlcTrans. Tonight I'm here with my dear friend and co-host, Tara Alexander. Anyway, a few things to talk about tonight, and I believe we have some B-roll a little bit later. And Tara is currently looking up something on her phone, so... But anyway, yes, sorry. But anyway, we have a few things we're going to talk about, and probably around the halfway point we'll bring you some B-roll. I know, Tara, you had said there was something you were all excited about before, so I'm sure at some point you'll tell me what that is and we'll talk about it. But anyway, just a few things I wanted to talk about briefly while
and then we have some announcements too.
And we have a few announcements, I guess.
So just keep people up to date on stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just going through some of the day's news kind of stuff, and
news from around the broadcast area.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, if any of you are sports fans, you've probably heard all about Jason Collins, but I wanted to read some of this just because I'm not a huge sports fan. I don't follow this stuff, but this is good news. This is from The Advocate, actually. So I'm going to read this to you just quickly. Just hours after Sports Illustrated cover featuring Jason Collins and his announcement that he is gay, he said he didn't know any other gay NBA players, but never set out to be the first openly gay male professional team sports athlete. It's very cool. You're sort of waiting around for somebody else to, raise their hand, he told Good Morning America's George Stephanopoulos. I'm ready to raise my hand, but you still look around like, okay, come on, guys. I get that. Collins said he did not want to come out initially, not because he was in denial about his sexuality as an adult, but because he felt an obligation to his teammates not to make waves that might distract them. You don't want to be that distraction because, for me, it's always been about the team. But I know that on my personal life, I'm ready, and the country is ready for supporting an openly gay basketball player. So, very cool. And there's a picture of him. He's a very attractive man sitting next to George Stephanopoulos, another very attractive man. This is...
Well, that was certainly something that... when I was coming out to my workplace, it was something that became a big concern because, well, there was nothing in the company guidelines about actually whether you could or couldn't be trans at work. There was a big clause about being a distraction at work.
Right.
That if you're a distracting influence at work, that's a reason they can let you go. So yeah, that plays a big part in sort of figuring out your timing because.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you're not being distracting, this information can cause, when you come out, can cause enough distress and upheaval in the normal operating patterns of other people who are worried about it, even though he might not be.
Yeah. No, I get that. I do get that. And probably talk a little bit about that later, too. But Because I just had a thought. That occasionally happens. Anyway, I'm going to continue on just quickly.
Take your
Here.
time.
This one is about President Obama. Obama on Jason Collins. I thought this was kind of cool.
It's a cute headline.
Yeah. Anyway, this was also from the Advocate. A day after calling NBA player Jason Collins to congratulate him on coming out on the cover of Sports Illustrated, President Barack Obama said he couldn't be prouder of Collins at a press briefing Tuesday morning. As he was leaving the press briefing, a reporter asked him to remark on his conversation with Collins. He seems like a terrific young man, Obama said. I told him I couldn't be prouder. One of the extraordinary measures of progress that we've seen in this country has been the recognition that the LGBT community deserves full equality, not just partial equality. Not just tolerance, but a recognition that they're fully a part of the American family. Given the importance of sports in our society for an individual who's excelled at the highest levels in one of the major sports to go out and say, this is who I am, I'm proud of it, I'm still a great competitor, I'm still 7 foot tall and can bang with Shaq and deliver a hard foul. For I think a lot of young people out there who are gay or lesbian, who are struggling with these issues, to see a role model out there who's unafraid, I think this is a great thing, and I think Americans should be proud that this is just one more step in the ongoing recognition that we can treat everybody fairly. Everybody's part of a family. We judge people on the basis of their character and their performance, not on their sexuality. I'm very proud of him. Michelle Obama also tweeted at Collins Monday, so proud of you, Jason Collins, the First Lady wrote. This is a huge step forward for our country. We've got your back. I thought that was great. It's very nice. This is, it's good stuff. I think, we're making progress, and as you were saying before, it's getting to the point that we have to look pretty hard to find firsts because
Right.
it's getting more mainstream. All this is getting less.
Well, the country as a whole has gotten much more comfortable with the
Yeah.
idea, and very rapidly. And so, yes, while this is certainly...
It's less sensational than
It's
it used
less
to.
sensational, exactly. It's a great thing that this is, the first gay male active athlete in one of the 4 major sports in the United States to come out as gay. Certainly, he's not the first person to come out in sports as gay. He's not the first, but so it's wonderful. I mean, those 4 major sports, baseball, basketball, football. I don't know. Hockey. Well, I would say hockey, honestly, but I don't think
hockey
most of
guy.
America considers it a major sport these days. I grew up on ice hockey and soccer, so that's my background. But so I did want to throw one tidbit in because I was at a restaurant the other day picking up some dinner, and while I was waiting for the food, so the other day being yesterday,
Okay.
they were talking about this story. These 2 guys sitting at the table were talking about Jason Collins coming out of the closet. And they basically said, that's kind of cool, the first major blah 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 blah, and the other guy looks at him and goes, but that's just in the 4 main sports for guys, because the whole WNBA is gay. And it's like, well, good for you having that stereotype,
I'm sorry.
any woman that plays softball is a lesbian, and the whole WNBA is probably gay too.
Well, of course.
Of course. I mean, they're playing men's sports, right?
Yeah.
But so, they...
And yes, did you laugh? Did you keep a straight face?
No, I was eavesdropping on the kind of thing where it's quiet, they're talking, and you can hear.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny, and then it sort of sank in what exactly he was implying, and it's like, damn it, that's the underlying prejudice, where you're making a joke but you're not.
Yeah.
There's a cultural line there that you're following that really sucks. And from that standpoint, feminism, women's lib, just because women play basketball doesn't make them masculine, doesn't make them gay. So anyway, yes, it's but anyway, side story.
Yeah.
But it is great to see those major, being an active player in one of the 4 major sports is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is also wonderful that we have to throw in all those adjectives
Right.
in order to make this a first.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it was very cool. So that's a good thing. Things are changing. Times they are changing. Anyway, this was something that we had talked briefly about the other day, but I just wanted to read this quick, and then I'll let you get to your announcements.
Oh, yeah.
This was about Vermont. Vermont orders insurers to cover gender reassignment. Vermont regulators have issued a mandate that insurers operating within the state cover all medically necessary procedures for transgender people, including gender reassignment surgery. The Vermont Department of Financial Regulations Division of Insurance laid out the policy in a bulletin saying, DFR, that's the Department of Financial Regulation, is committed to ensuring that Vermonters do not face discrimination in accessing medically necessary health care benefits, including those based on gender identity and gender dysphoria. The document adds, this is both a simple question of fairness and a matter addressed by existing insurance law and DFR regulation. The policy went into effect last week. Very cool, and apparently there are similar policies in California, Colorado, Oregon, and the District of Columbia. But that's kind of cool.
It is.
It's something that we talk about a lot, not necessarily on the show, but in general. And at some point, we have to give a shout out to our friends at Westbrook High. We did a panel last week, on Thursday at Westbrook High School, and it was great. It was wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful school. The staff, the faculty, and everybody was wonderful, and the students were incredible. These just bright, articulate young people. It was it was teen leadership. Teen leadership 2.
Yes, the first part of teen leadership was younger kids doing more basic independent study. Teen leadership 2 was where the mostly juniors and mostly seniors, some juniors and sophomore and freshmen, but mostly seniors who have gone through teen leadership 1 and are now basically doing a sort of independent group research. What do you guys want to learn about? What do you what do you all want to study? And I guess
they picked us.
Somebody brought in an article about the elementary school kid, trans girl that was not being allowed to use
the Colorado
the girls' bathroom. And so they had a discussion about whether or not she should be allowed to use the girls' bathroom, and they couldn't come to a conclusion. So they decided to bring someone in from the outside to learn a little bit more about the topic. And
it was us.
It was great. It was
cool.
A wonderful experience.
It was a very good experience.
And we have to say hi to, I think she was the art teacher that came in, if you're watching.
Actually watches the show. It's crazy, but very cool. It was good, and it's a lovely school, and really, great students and great.
The principal was very nice. There was a very, very good hospitality. We even got to eat lunch.
Yeah, they made us lunch.
School lunch.
It was very good too.
It was very good. Yeah.
So,
we had paninis and wraps.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a really good experience. We do a lot of panels, and this was probably our last panel for the season before everybody's off for the summer. And it was a really nice bookmark because it was a really good, really rewarding panel, and the kids were just great. They were just wonderful. So we had a good time. So just wanted to say hi to all you folks. If any of you can see us, you may not. But anyway, so announcements.
Well, before we get to the announcements, you gave us some really good news. I have some not so good news.
Oh, okay.
Granted, this is in South Africa, but we still
Okay.
consider South Africa as sort of a modern first world progressive.
Part of the planet, so it's important.
It's part of the planet. The Telegraph reported that Raymond Buys died 2 weeks after being put on life support 2 months into a 3-month training course provided by Alex DeCoker's Echo Wild Game Rangers camp. 15-year-old Buys had brain damage and a broken arm and bruises at the time, and had emerged severely malnourished, dehydrated, and covered in cigarette burns, according to the report.
Wow.
This camp is a so-called conversion camp
Oh, right.
for gay kids. The Gay Star News adds that Buys was actually one of 3 men who died after being subjected to alleged abuse during the course. 2 others, 25-year-old Eric Kalitz and Nicholas Vanderwalt, 19, reportedly died of severe brain injuries after enrolling in the camp, where they were promised, quote, to be turned into men.
Wow. So we'll burn the gay out of you with the cigarettes? So is that how it works?
Well, there was a lot of stuff going on. Raymond's mother said that Raymond was only allowed to speak to me on speakerphone, and she's quoted as saying, "When I asked him why he was hurting himself, he told me, 'Mom, I'm not doing it to myself.'" One 19-year-old source claimed that Buys was chained to his bed nightly, not allowed to use the toilet, and on one occasion was forced to eat his own feces.
Wow.
Echo Wild Game Rangers camp employees DeCoker and Michael Erasmus are now on trial for charges of murder, child abuse, and neglect in conjunction with Buys' death.
That's horrible.
It is. And so that's sort of an extreme of conversion therapy, but
Yeah.
that's what happened in the world today.
Nice.
So, on the lighter note, because you're absolutely right, we have a few reminders. On the long-term scale, September 21st, later this year, we like bringing you the TED Talks because, well, there are lots of really interesting information, and it's a great way to go watch the TED Talks and get some ideas stirred up and learn about things you may not have known. They're coming to Yukon.
Yeah.
September 21st, it'll be in stores at Oak Hall at the Stores campus of Yukon, now officially Yukon. I don't think there's any information on who's going to be there yet or such, but the event is open to the public and tickets are available. There's also a fundraiser for True Colors. Since we're talking about Yukon, True Colors has their annual conference at Yukon. True Colors is doing a fundraiser May 12th, if you're interested. Sunday, May 12th, so that's like Mother's Day, I think.
Okay.
In Wickham Park in Manchester, at 10 a.m. they're doing a 5K run to benefit the True Colors organization, which works towards creating a world where youth, adult, and families of all sexual orientations and gender identities are valued and affirmed, challenging all forms of oppression through education, training, advocacy, youth leadership, development, mentoring, and direct services to youth and those responsible for their well-being. You can contact True Colors at ourtruecolors.org. One word.
Right.
And a little more locally, our friends at the Alliance for Living are having a fundraiser, A Gardener's Delight. Paul Cotu and Bill Turner cordially invite you to A Gardener's Delight on Saturday, May 18th, rain or shine, at the Kent Farm Perennial Gardens and Floral. It's an art exhibit. Paintings inspired by the Kenford Farms gardens are donated and will be auctioned off. There's a fine art auction champagne reception at 1 p.m. Guided tours start at 10 a.m. and noon. There's also a plant sale. $20 at the gates will get you in, and, well, whatever you spend at the auction is your own.
Yeah. Cool.
All proceeds benefit the Alliance for Living. You can call the Alliance for Living or go to their website, allianceforliving.org, to get more info. And then bringing it even closer to home,
Okay.
Constance Christophic is working to organize a New London Pride event of some sort. Probably something down on the waterfront, family-oriented, pride in the community kind of thing. So they're breaking up into committees now to try and do specific tasks and get them going. Wednesday, April 24th, there's an art exhibit committee. These are fundraising events to raise money for the Pride event that'll happen next year. There's an art exhibit committee, Wednesday, April 24th at the Washington Coffee House at 5:30. What's today?
Today's the
30th.
The 30th.
Yeah, so that's gone by, that's gone by, that's gone by. My apologies. Scavenger Hunt and Amazing Race Committee will meet Tuesday, May 14th at the Washington Coffee House at 7 p.m.
That hasn't gone by.
That hasn't gone by yet, sorry. And they want you to save the date for sometime in August, I think it was. They want to do a GLBT day, GLBTQ day at Ocean Beach. Yeah, so I have to get newer dates. Some of those are already passed.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah. May 14th. That's my daughter's birthday.
Very nearly the Ides of May.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So what else is going on? We've probably got some...
Yep, I guess I'll have to introduce this then because I've run out of things to talk about.
Okay, well, I can babble for a while if you want, but I fear, if you want us to talk about...
We have a 17-minute clip, a TED Talk that sort of introduces the topic. So I'm going to do a real brief introduction here because I just came across these guys and I was very excited. If nobody's heard of it, there's a programming project called the Raspberry Pi.
Oh, yes.
Which is this little $35 computer. It doesn't, you have to attach a keyboard and you have to attach a monitor and you have to attach a power supply, but it's powered by USB, so you get one of those little wall chargers and you can plug it in and that'll power it. And it's just this little computer. It has a little flash card that you put the OS on and it boots up, and it's just this little Linux computer. And it was built and designed to allow a very inexpensive hardware platform to be made available to let kids learn how to program.
Mm-hmm.
And so for like literally $35, you can order one of these. It doesn't even come with a case. Just a little bit bigger than an Altoids mint can because it's got square corners. Otherwise, it would fit in an Altoids mint can. And so for $35, you can get one of these. It'll probably end up being about $60 when you throw all the little accessories on. It has basic networking and everything. And it has a basic operating system that you can learn to program. And the whole point was to try to get kids interested.
Mm-hmm.
So I was following some information on that, which led me to this, because that little Raspberry Pi...
And you have one of those, don't you?
I do have one of those, yes. I had to get one. It's just too cool. Because of this kind of stuff. It's designed to be this lightweight, low-cost hardware platform to get people to use that platform to do amazing projects. Instead of having a $2,000 price point to get a computer,
right.
You have like a $50 price point to get a computer, and you can start doing projects. And you can build projects that cost $50 to deploy. And what this group did, this group has produced something called K.A.L.L, so I'm working at this backwards. K.A.L.L uses the Raspberry Pi along with a Wi-Fi connector to become and an external hard drive to become a wireless video server. The reason that's really cool is in a lot of third world countries, in a lot of places around the world, even in places here in the U.S., they don't have access to the internet.
Right.
I think the statistic, I printed this out for the statistic, 35% of the world has internet access, but 100% of the world's children need education. So what are you to do? Well, there's this thing called the Khan Academy, and that's what the video will be about, where they have put all kinds of training courses online, mostly for anyone that wants to learn about them in a real basic fundamental way. And they have hundreds and thousands of hours of video training courses.
Cool.
Absolutely free to anyone that wants them.
That's cool.
So what this T.A.L.L project did was take a Raspberry Pi with an external hard drive and a Wi-Fi adapter and put the entire Khan Academy onto the hard drive. So now you can take this video server, this $100 video server when you include the hard drive, and you can put it in a room anywhere in the world, and you can get those little inexpensive tablets, and they had 35 tablets connected to that video server, all watching different videos without it ever bogging down.
Wow.
So now you literally have a sort of internet video education solution in a box.
That's cool.
It's very cool. But this is like 3 different community projects, open source projects, if you will, all coming together at once. And that's what I found so cool about it, is all these little things that are done to spark something. And this is the kind of thing it sparks.
Yeah. So
we're going to watch a little video about the Khan Academy from, I forget the guy's name now, but so it says here real quick, no, that's all right. The T.A.L.L project emerged during a development internship at Khan Academy in the summer of 2012. Having just received their first eagerly awaited Raspberry Pi, a couple of interns decided to try porting the Khan Academy's educational materials for use on the Raspberry Pi as a low-power device that can run off batteries, solar, or a generator, and its ability to use existing hardware for output such as televisions. It's an ideal platform for distributing content to the developing world. After working on the Khanberry Pi for several weeks, so they like to merge the names,
yeah.
A very simple static file-based version that worked on the Raspberry Pi was presented at a Khan Academy event in August. The overwhelming enthusiasm about its potential impact led to further brainstorming, while conversations with other organizations using Khan Academy in the developing world reinforced the strong need for a more general software platform for deploying the Khan Academy content. And it doesn't require the Raspberry Pi, but the Raspberry Pi still remains the most cost-effective $35 computer to deploy this sort of thing. So I'm babbling about the hardware, but let's watch the video and we'll learn about the software side.
Cool.
Khan Academy is most known for its collection of videos. So before I go any farther, let me show you a little bit of a montage.
So the hypotenuse is now going to be 5. This animal's fossils are only found in this area of South America, a nice clean band here, and this part of Africa. We could integrate over the surface, and the notation usually is a capital sigma. National Assembly, they create the Committee of Public Safety, which sounds like a very nice committee. Notice this is an aldehyde, and it's an alcohol. Start differentiating into effector and memory cells. A galaxy. Hey, there's another galaxy. Oh, look, there's another galaxy. And for dollars is their $30 million plus the $20 million from the American manufacturer. If this does not blow your mind, then you have no emotion.
We now have on the order of 2,200 videos covering everything from basic arithmetic all the way to vector calculus and some of the stuff that you saw up there. We have a million students a month using the site, watching on the order of 100 to 200,000 videos a day. But what we're going to talk about in this is how we're going to the next level. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about really just how I got started. And some of y'all might know, about 5 years ago, I was an analyst at a hedge fund, and I was in Boston, and I was tutoring my cousins in New Orleans remotely. And I started putting the first YouTube videos up really just as kind of a nice to have, just kind of a supplement for my cousins, something that might, give them a refresher or something. And as soon as I put those first YouTube videos up, something interesting happened. Actually, a bunch of interesting things happened. The first was the feedback from my cousins. They told me that they preferred me on YouTube than in person. And once you get over the backhanded nature of that, there was actually something very profound there. They were saying that they preferred the automated version of their cousin to their cousin. At first it's very unintuitive, but when you actually think about it from their point of view, it makes a ton of sense. You have this situation where now they can pause and repeat their cousin. Now they can, without feeling like they're wasting my time. They could, if they have to review something that they should have learned a couple of weeks ago or maybe a couple of years ago, they don't have to be embarrassed and ask their cousin. They can just watch those videos. If they're bored, they can go ahead. They can watch it at their own time, at their own pace. And probably the least appreciated, aspect of this is the notion that the very first time that you're trying to get your brain around a new concept, the very last thing you need is another human being saying, do you understand this? And that's what was happening with the interaction with my cousins before, and now they could just do it kind of in the intimacy of their own room. The other thing that happened is, I put them on YouTube just for the, I saw no reason to make it private, so I let other people watch it, and then people started stumbling on it, and I started getting some comments and some letters and all sorts of kind of feedback from random people around the world, and these are just a few. This is actually from one of the original calculus videos, and someone wrote just on YouTube, it was a YouTube comment. First time I smiled doing a derivative. And let's pause here. This person did a derivative, and then they smiled. And then in response to that same comment, this is on the thread, you could go on YouTube and look at these comments, someone else wrote, same thing here. I actually got a natural high and a good mood for the entire day. Since I remember seeing all of this matrix text in class, and here I'm all like, I know Kung Fu. And we got a lot of feedback along those lines. It's clearly it was helping people. But then as the viewership kept growing and kept growing, I started getting letters from people, and it was starting to become clear that it was actually more than just a nice to have. This is just an excerpt from one of those letters. My 12-year-old son has autism and has had a terrible time with math. We have tried everything, viewed everything, bought everything. We stumbled on your video on decimals, and it got through. Then we went on to the dreaded fractions. Again, he got it. We could not believe it. He is so excited. And so you can imagine, here I was, an analyst at a hedge fund. It was very strange for me to do something of social value. I was excited, so I kept going. And then other things started to dawn on me. That not only would it help my cousins right now, or these people who were sending letters, but it could maybe that this content will never go old, that it could help their kids or their grandkids. If Isaac Newton had done YouTube videos on calculus, I wouldn't have to. Assuming he was good. We don't know. The other thing that happened, and even at this point, I said, okay, maybe it's a good supplement, it's good for motivated students, it's good for maybe homeschoolers, but I didn't think it would be something that would somehow penetrate the classroom. But then I started getting letters from teachers. And the teachers would write saying, we've used your videos to flip the classroom. You've given the lectures. So now what we do, and this could actually happen in every classroom in America tomorrow, what I do is I assign the lectures for homework, and what used to be homework, I now have the students doing in the classroom. And I want to pause here for I want to pause here for a second because there's a couple of interesting things. One, when those teachers are doing that, there's the obvious benefit. There's the benefit that now their students can enjoy the videos in the way that my cousins did. They can pause, repeat at their own pace, at their own time. But the more interesting thing, and this is the unintuitive thing when you talk about technology in the classroom, by removing the one-size-fits-all lecture from the classroom and letting students have a self-paced lecture at home, and then when you go to the classroom, letting them do work, having the teacher walk around, having the peers actually be able to interact with each other, these teachers have used technology to humanize the classroom. They took a fundamentally dehumanizing experience, a bunch of 30 kids with their fingers on their lips, not allowed to interact with each other. A teacher, no matter how good, has to give this kind of one-size-fits-all lecture to 30 students, blank faces, slightly antagonistic, and now it's a human experience. Now they're actually interacting with each other. So once the Khan Academy kind of, I quit my job and we turned into a real organization, we're a not-for-profit, the question is, how do we take this to the next level? How do we take what those teachers were doing to their natural conclusion? And so what I'm showing over here, these are actual exercises that I started writing for my cousins. The ones I started were much more primitive. This is a kind of a more competent version of it. But the paradigm here is we'll generate as many questions as you need until you get that concept, until you get 10 in a row. And the Khan Academy videos are there. You get hints, the actual steps for that problem if you don't know how to do it. But the paradigm here, it seems like a very simple thing, 10 in a row, you move on. But it's fundamentally different than what's happening in classrooms right now. In a traditional classroom, you have a couple of homework, lecture, and then you have a snapshot exam. And that exam, whether you get a 70%, an 80%, a 90%, or a 95%, the class moves on to the next topic. And even that 95% student, what was the 5% they didn't know? Maybe they didn't know what happens when you raise something to the 0th power. And then you go build on that in the next concept. That's analogous to, imagine learning to ride a bicycle. And I give you a bicycle, maybe I give you a lecture ahead of time, and I give you that bicycle for 2 weeks, and then I come back after 2 weeks, and I say, well, let's see, you're having trouble taking left turns, you can't quite stop. You're an 80% bicyclist. So I put a big C stamp on your forehead, and then I say, here's a unicycle. But as ridiculous as that sounds, that's exactly what's happening in our classrooms right now. And the idea is, you fast forward and good students start failing algebra all of a sudden and start failing calculus all of a sudden, despite it being smart, despite having good teachers, and it's usually because they had these Swiss cheese gaps that kept building throughout their foundation. So our model is learn math the way you would learn anything, like the way you would learn a bicycle. Stay on that bicycle. Fall off that bicycle. Do it as long as necessary until you have mastery. The traditional model, it penalizes you for experimentation and failure, but it does not expect mastery. We encourage you to experiment. We encourage you to failure, but we do expect mastery. This is just another one of the modules. This is trigonometry. This is shifting and reflecting functions. And they all fit together. We have about 90 of these right now. And you could go to the site right now. It's all free, not trying to sell anything. But the general idea is that they all fit into this knowledge map. That top node right there, that's literally single-digit addition. It's like 1 + 1 is equal to 2. And the paradigm is, once you get 10 in a row on that, then it keeps forwarding you to more and more advanced modules. So if you keep... this is further down the knowledge map, we're getting into more advanced arithmetic. Further down, you start getting into pre-algebra and early algebra. Further down, you start getting into algebra 1, algebra 2, a little bit of pre-calculus. And the idea is from this, we can actually teach everything. Well, everything that can be taught in this type of a framework. So you can imagine, and this is what we are working on, is from this knowledge map, you have logic, you have computer programming, you have grammar, you have genetics, all based off of that core of, okay, if you know this and that, now you're ready for this next concept. Now, that can work well for an individual learner, and I encourage one for you to do it with your kids, but I also encourage everyone in the audience to do it yourself. It'll change what happens at the dinner table. But what we want to do is use the natural conclusion of the flipping of the classroom that those early teachers had emailed me about. And so what I'm showing you here, this is actually data from a pilot in the Los Altos School District where they took 2 5th grade classes and 2 7th grade classes and completely gutted their old math curriculum. These kids aren't using textbooks, they're not getting one-size-fits-all lectures, they're doing Khan Academy, they're doing that software for roughly half of their math class. And I want to make it clear, we don't view this as a complete math education. What it does is, and this is what's happening in Los Altos, it frees up time. This is the blocking and tackling, making sure you know how to do a system of equations, and it frees up time for the simulations, for the games, for the mechanics, for the robot building, for the estimating how high that hill is based on its shadow. And so the paradigm is the teacher walks in every day, every kid works at their own pace, and a teacher this is actually a live dashboard from Los Altos School District, and they look at this dashboard. Every row is a student. Every column is one of those concepts. Green means the student's already proficient. Blue means that they're working on it, no need to worry. Red means they're stuck. And what the teacher does is literally just says, let me intervene on the red kids. Or even better, let me get one of the green kids who are already proficient in that concept to be the first line of attack and actually tutor their peer. Now, I kind of come from a very data-centric reality, so we don't want that teacher to even go and intervene and have to ask the kid awkward questions. Oh, what do you not understand, or what do you do understand, and all of the rest. So our paradigm is to really arm the teachers with as much data as possible, really data that in almost any other field is expected if you're in finance or marketing or manufacturing. And so the teachers can actually diagnose what's wrong with the students so that they can make their interaction as productive as possible. So now the teachers know exactly what the students have been up to, how long they've been spending every day, what videos have they been watching, when did they pause the videos, what did they stop watching, what exercises are they using, what have they been focused on. The outer circle shows what the exercises they're focused on. The inner circle shows the videos they're focused on. And the data gets pretty granular, so you can actually see the exact problems that the student got right or wrong. Red is wrong, blue is right. The leftmost question is the first question that the student attempted. They watched the video right over there. And then you could see eventually they were able to get 10 in a row. It's almost like you can almost see them learning over those last 10 problems. They also got faster. The height is how long it took them. So, you know, when you talk about self-paced learning, it makes sense for everyone. You know, in education speak, differentiated learning. But it's kind of crazy what happens when you actually see it in a classroom. Because every time we've done this, in every classroom we've done, over and over again, if you go 5 days into it, there's a group of kids who've raced ahead, and there's a group of kids who are a little bit slower. And in a traditional model, if you did a snapshot assessment, you say, oh, these are the gifted kids, these are the slow kids. Maybe they should be tracked differently. Maybe we should put them in different classes. But when you let every student work at their own pace, and we see it over and over and over again, you see students who took a little bit extra time on one concept or the other, but once they get through that concept, they just race ahead. And so the same kids that you thought were slow 6 weeks ago, you now would think are gifted. And we're seeing it over and over and over again. And it makes you really wonder kind of how much all of the labels, maybe a lot of us have benefited from, were really just due to a coincidence of time. Now, as valuable as something like this is in a district like Los Altos, our goal is to use technology to humanize, not just in Los Altos, but kind of on a global scale, what's happening in education. And actually, that kind of brings an interesting point, is that, you know, a lot of the effort in humanizing the classroom is focused on student-to-teacher ratios. In our mind, the relevant metric is student to valuable human time with the teacher ratio. So in a traditional model, most of the teacher's time is spent doing lectures and grading tests and whatnot. Maybe 5% of their time is actually sitting next to students and actually working with them. Now 100% of their time is. So once again, using technology, not just flipping the classroom, you're humanizing the classroom, I'd argue, by a factor of 5 or 10. And as valuable as it is in Los Altos, imagine what that does to the adult learner who's embarrassed to go back and learn stuff that they should have known before going back to college. Imagine what it does to a street kid in Calcutta who has to help his family during the day, and that's the reason why he or she can't go to school. Now they can spend 2 hours a day and remediate or get up to speed and not feel embarrassed about what they do or don't know. Now imagine what happens where, you know, we talked about the peers teaching each other inside of a classroom, but this is all one system. There's no reason why you can't have that peer-to-peer tutoring beyond that one classroom. Imagine what happens if that student in Calcutta all of a sudden can tutor your son, or your son can tutor that kid in Calcutta. And I think what you'll see emerging is this notion of a global one-world classroom. And that's essentially what we're trying to build. Thank you.
Wow, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that. I did. That was fun. It's very cool, and and I can see where that could be very useful. And I know you were talking about how you about your little computer, your $35 computer, and hooking that up so that a bunch of kids in third world nations can see these and learn.
Right. So the extension of that's the project that has put together the content that's available.
Which is very cool.
Which is very cool, and go search for Khan Academy, KHAN Academy.
Yeah.
All those lessons are free.
Yeah.
And even as an adult, they have a whole system set up, just like he did for his cousins, of coaching. You can sign up and register as a coach, and then essentially, like the teacher in the classroom, help and tutor your cousin or your kid, or just be your little brother, little sister, or whomever else. But yeah, so they've taken this Raspberry Pi platform, Raspberry Pi platform, and with a big hard drive attached, they've loaded most of the Khan Academy content onto it, and with a little battery pack, you can take that pretty much anywhere, and a little Wi-Fi adapter, and set it up, put it in a room, turn it on, plug the batteries in, and then whatever mechanism you have, whether it's a little wired network in a box, or wireless tablets, or even the one laptop per child, one tablet per child stuff for the $100 tablet. If they have wireless capabilities or wired capabilities, you can connect to and use that content. And it starts with a little $35 computer that looks like this.
It's not like even all the kids would have to have their own tablet or whatever. A classroom could have these, and you could,
And certainly, if you have a little more money or you have a little more resources, like local school systems and whatnot, then like he talked about, flipping the classroom, the content's available. You don't need to necessarily have that independent video server available if you have internet access. It's just, and so when I came across all this stuff today, I love the idea of each of the pieces of it, the little hardware platform for learning to program, and then the content, the whole sort of primary school content online, primary and secondary school content online, and then the notion that these nonprofits, or a third nonprofit came along and brought these ideas from the other two nonprofits together to really make it mobile and serve any community.
Yeah, it's very cool. I like it.
These are all, we're running out of time, so I won't babble further. But
okay. But I think it's wonderful and very useful, and go online and check it out by all means. I will. I think it's really cool.
Yes,
but anyway, that is pretty much all the time we have for tonight. So on that note, we will say good night, and thank you all for joining us, and we will see you all again next week.